Hi, Pawsey interns. Welcome to this live demonstration. I'm going to show you how to get Jupyter Notebook or GP-enabled Python workflows up and running on Topaz so that you can execute, build, and test some of your deep learning or machine learning related code through the Jupyter Notebook interface. So I'm on this Pawsey support documentation webpage called Running GPU-enabled Jupyter Hub on Topaz and Zeus with Singularity. Here is the URL, but you should also be able to find this page just by Googling this title here. So we'll get started. First, we're going to need to set up. So we've got a bash script here that has our Slurm requirements and specifications. And we will be editing, we'll be selecting what image we want to use. So here they're going with the data science notebook. And lastly, we will be changing to our account name. And that's basically all the changes we'll need to implement to this default script. As you can see by this tag here, you should not need to edit the lines below. So you can leave all this as is. Okay, so we can either copy and paste all this into a file on my group on Topaz. Or we can curl download. So I'm going to go into Topaz. I'm logged in here, so I'll give everybody a few seconds or pause the video now and log into Topaz so that you're on your in your home. And then I'm going to CD into my group. And from my group, I am going to download from this link. So I'm going to copy, right-click, copy link address, open the terminal back up in my group, curl dash or space dash capital O, and then paste the URL. I hit enter. Seems to get the curl to complete. I can see the .slm file here, but it's got this weird end of name. So I'm going to just rename this file to something a bit more readable and integral. The move command. So move, you can actually change a file name, as discussed in the Intro to Unix course. And so now you can see when I do listing command, I have this .slm script here. So now I'm going to go into it. I can do it with Nano. You can also do this with Vim if you prefer. Exit out of here. Nano, Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to edit the project name so that it reflects my account. So to get that information, it should be, I'm just going to confirm with a previous version of this file. So yes, we'll want this sort of, not this exact one, you'll have your own set of numbers here, but you can find that by simply looking in PWD. So we just want to copy and paste this bit of text between the group slash and your Pawsey user name. So grab that, that's your project name, and go back into Nano. Start typing Jupyter, hit tab to autocomplete, enter. Now we'll go back to here, account. We're going to enter in the appropriate account name. Let's say I only want to do an hour's worth of, or we can keep it at 2 hours, 2 hours of testing, and set your specifications here as per the Intro to Supercomputing course with Pascal and Christian. If you want a refresher on those, jump back into that video. And here I'm personally going to go for the TensorFlow notebook. So when we select we can select a sort of default notebook that'll have libraries installed, pre-installed, so Python libraries. And so the TensorFlow notebook's probably one of the most popular for deep learning libraries, which many of our projects as interns involve. So this is a good starting point. You can see a full list of the available notebooks here, and pick the one that most suits your needs in your project. Two really popular and widely used ones that will be applicable to you are the data science notebook or the TensorFlow notebook. And so I'm going to go with the TensorFlow notebook, which I've done previously here. So I just want to make sure that Jupyter/TensorFlow notebook latest. So I just basically need to replace data science with TensorFlow here. And then everything else can stay the same. And that's it. So I will exit out of Nano with Control X, Y, enter. And that should be this file now ready to go. So I'm going to clear that in a moment. Just going back to the instructions here. Now we can run our Jupyter Notebook server with the Slurm job script. So I'm going to copy or type in this command, sbatch command, into the terminal. Batch Jupyter Notebook .slm, job submitted. See what's going on here. So I've got my Slurm output file or log. What's happening inside there? So it's still building right now. So our container is being installed, and we just need to be patient. So I would this will take a few minutes. So now our Slurm output should display that the container is fully ready to go. And we can now use these commands from the output file to basically connect, or SSH connect to Topaz through a web browser on our local machine. So we will copy and paste this. You want to copy, so we want to copy the SSH into, this is now a separate terminal window that's on my local machine, not on Topaz. So I'm on my local machine here. And I'm going to paste in the SSH into my Topaz password, and that connection was successfully set up. And now lastly, I'm going to copy and paste the bottom URL here to access the notebook in the browser through Topaz. So I'm going to go into my browser. Just a reminder, the selecting Docker, selecting image, page title. Yeah, if you Google selecting a Docker image, you should be able to come up to this Jupyter Docker stacks.readthedocs.io. So now you can see that the container is ready to go, which we used Docker and Singularity to build. And we can upload from our local machine our notebook. So I'm going to go into the file here, the IPYMB file, upload that into the container. From my local machine. And now it should be ready to go. So now I click on, and this notebook is now running on Topaz. And it'll be stored in, not in my group, but in my Scratch, which I'll show you shortly. So if we go pip list, we should be able to see all the Python packages that are that come with the TensorFlow container, or TensorFlow image rather. So you can see here we've got Keras, we've got Matplotlib, sort of everything, pandas, Seaborn, SciPy, scikit-learn, TensorBoard, TensorFlow. So everything that we'll need for our deep learning and machine learning type or related projects. NumPy should be here as well. There's NumPy, and then we can further install packages as needed. So let's do pip install Nltk. We're doing some natural language processing. From within here, we can run a bash line using the exclamation mark. It might not work right away. So from nltk.tokenize import word. I'm just running a test here to see if the recently pip installed Nltk library is available. We might have to restart the notebook. So from Nltk, that, yep, as we can see, module not found. So we'll need to restart the kernel. And now I can try that again. Or perhaps an easier way when Jupyter Notebook, oh, there we go, great. So we've got that working there, and now we can do an example sentence. Hello, Pawsey-Interns, welcome to Jupyter Notebooks. And now we can attempt to tokenize the sentence if my Nltk is correct. Which is not. Punked. Okay. So it wants us to. This is just an example of the Nltk. It's the dependency punked, so, or resource punked. So I'm going to quickly patch up that error. And then hopefully we'll be able to see that our recently installed Nltk library into our containerized or isolated environment with pip allows us to tokenize words as you would with natural language processing, words and grammar, I suppose. Punctuation, okay, punctuation. And so that's the basis for setting up our Jupyter notebook, GPU-enabled Jupyter notebook, where we would run our machine learning models. I suggest for this that we do this, we use Git and version control to, when we don't need to work on Topaz, we work on our local system, push those changes to your remote repository, pull those back onto Topaz. And then when you're ready to test a bit of a machine learning model or something, for example, and you really need the GPU-enabled power of Topaz, then you come onto Topaz and you access your container as so and run the code as needed. And you will see that also your if you go into My Scratch, you'll see your image. Go to Jupyter directory. You'll see your notebook, your Jupyter notebook now on Topaz, and your TensorFlow image, and even my Nltk data has been installed there. So the last thing we want to make sure that we do is clean up when we are finished with Jupyter Notebook and Topaz. And we use the scancel command here to cancel our job. And secondly, we want to open up a terminal window on our local machine and run a command very similar to this, which is found in the slurm jobid.out file. We want to make sure that we kill this SSH tunnel to prevent the possibility of attackers coming in through the entry point. It's good security practice to cancel this. So we will demonstrate. Here we've got our kill command in there. We can see as well our job ID is in the slurm file name, or we can find it by looking at SQ here. So I will go ahead and cancel this job, which is scheduled to run till 2 p.m. So freeing up 2 hours of time there roughly on Topaz. And now I will open up a second window here, which is on my local machine, no longer on Topaz. And I will run the command from the slurm file, the kill command. So you can find it, as you can see here, I've got the terminate or kill bash command. And I will enter that, copy and paste that into my the command line on my local machine. And that concludes the cleaning up process. So thank you for watching today's video on Jupyter Notebooks, and I hope you found it useful.